Today we've got a great panel to really take a look at the expectations, the industry trends, the gadgets, and the geeks that are making a difference in our world. Guys, I got to ask you, I'm so glad you're here today. Really, the technology is exploding. The platforms that consumers can access seem to be more confused and more offerings than ever before. What do you expect is going to create the buzz and all of this noise at CES this year?
I think first it's going to be a simpler operation. Keep it simple. Because you said things are exploding. Literally, we've seen batteries exploding in the last year. People want to see brands they can trust, retailers that will stand behind products that don't need big instruction manuals. And I think simplicity will be across cell phones, handhelds, HD TV sets, the whole line.
Obviously, technology is getting more complex, but as you say, the secret is to hide that complexity and actually deliver products that are super simple to use. And one of my tests when I review products is to actually fire it up and see whether I can get it to work without touching the manual.
Brian, do you see some particular buzzness coming out?
Yeah, I have this kind of a particular angle on it from sort of the broadband and video perspective. But I do think that there will be, I think among the interesting things we'll hear about buzzworthy at the show is going to be dealing with broadband video and IP video as well as in-home networking. I think there's been a fair amount of speculation in the media recently about a potential offering, near video-on-demand offering coming out of EchoStar. That could very well be launched. I think press reports are potentially in February. And I think that's very interesting against the backdrop of Comcast now doing some day-and-date video-on-demand trials in a couple of cities. And in terms of in-home networking, I think something like a home plug is actually finally, I think, getting to the point where we may see a lot more concrete examples of where you can really use that technology. You've got companies like Arcados and Intellian and Connexent on the chip side, and all the way down through the consumer electronic side with televisions from Samsung and Sony and Intel with the Vive processor. And I think probably most important aspect is you really do have some service provider and some retail partnerships now with Comcast being very involved, Radio Shack, Cox, Bell South. That's what I'm looking for.
You know, it seems that video is on everyone's lip. This has been the year of video, anytime, anywhere, any place. Is video content really what's driving gadget adoption? Is that what it's all about?
I think it's video content and increasingly at this CES, audience measurement. That it's not just geeks and early adapters that are out there with video in their pocket, but how do I get that audience measurement? And so TiVo's getting audience measurement in 2007. We're going to see that extending to devices, especially if they're wireless media devices that allow a feedback that says, oh, you enjoyed that show and you skip through this commercial and you watch that commercial twice. Ooh.
Certainly YouTube and that user-generated video is a big story. To some extent, that has been driven by greater broadband penetration because clearly you need the bandwidth both up and down to do user-generated video. And so whether YouTube comes first and then the bandwidth follows, or the bandwidth and YouTube, I'm not quite sure, but certainly there is a synergy there. They both require each other. I think video is a very big story at the moment. I think next year we're going to see really the wireless carriers take a real stab at doing mobile video, and there's a real question about that business model and whether it's real. There's a real question about whether consumers are willing to pay effectively twice for the same content. I think the location shifting companies like Slingbox or like Sling Media with Slingbox, which enable you to move your video content from your home onto a mobile or other portable device. I think that's a very interesting model, and we're now seeing other companies like Sony and Pinnacle adopt a similar sort of mechanism.
I think you make actually a good point there about how video is pushing a lot of the trends. I think looking back a little bit, you've seen the video content and the studio and the video providers sort of take a little bit of a backseat to the distribution side when you saw Cox push back against ESPN a number of years ago in terms of rate increases. I think the pendulum's starting to swing a little bit more toward the content providers and the video providers because of the explosion in new distribution for video. So I think where you've got the cable operators or others, the satellite operators, who'd much rather have you, I think, in the walled garden. That might have actually, I think, prevented some development of consumer electronic technology and the adoption of it. But I think now, with the explosion of new ways to distribute that content to users and consumers, I actually think that the content guys are really going to be pushing that.
I think IPTV is a classic. There we have a whole new distribution mechanism which potentially could undermine a lot of other business models. It certainly poses a challenge to the cable operators, but more than that, do Blu-ray and HD DVD, are they threatened? If you can download directly from over the net to your hard drive, do you actually want to buy a new disc, a new next-generation DVD disc?
I'd like to amplify on that because I think we're going to see the first downloads of high-definition content, not just the high-definition on video on demand from cable operators, but satellite, cellular operators, using your cable modem to get high-definition on demand at faster than real time, not the slow movie services that debuted a few years ago. Because as Paul said, this new opening of consumer choice, where consumers want this media where they want it, in their pocket, on their laptop, at work at lunch hour, that has awakened the content owners to the fact that it isn't taking away from prime time, it's how do I get 24-hour-a-day prime time, and how do I measure that?